Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today we're doing episode 8 of Tank of the Week. For those of you who've watched for a long time, almost guaranteed you know what tank is behind me. But, just in case you don't, we're going to dive into my 90-gallon Rainbow community, and also the temporary home of Cycles, the guy behind me, the Shabunkin Goldfish. So, with that being said, let's dive into the tank. Alright, so here we are. We're going to pan across the tank, starting from the right where their swords are, just to give you a general view of what it looks like. And you'll notice, there's all sorts of shimmer going on. I stole my Kessel lights temporarily to make this tank a little brighter. As normally, I run this tank fairly low light, but it makes it kind of hard to film cleanly. So you can see the rainbows all zipping around. Let's talk fish and plants. First off, let's zoom in some. So we can get some of the Plecos hiding here. I am fairly certain. Yeah, there you go. You can see down there, we're getting closer here. There's a yellow king tiger, or the L333 Pleco. This guy right here is a L333 yellow king tiger. There are 2 total in the tank, but this one's just making himself super visible. There is also a pair of blue phantom Plecos, the L128s. Maybe we can get that guy, the one that's showing himself here. Right there. Now the other 2, one of each Pleco, are hiding pretty well, so they're going to be a little tough for us to see. But, oh, he's kind of poking his head out. Hold on. I'll move you that way. If you look through the plants here, you can just barely see kind of the top of his head. Let me get you some. Right there. It's tough to see, but you can just see the head and the tail kind of through those swords. So, let's zoom back out a little bit. That's the Plecos. They're simple. You can see a SAE there. Let's talk some of the rainbows in here. So there's Cycles, the Shabunkin. He's kind of partially blind, zipping around. And there's really only 3 fish in this tank beyond that, as far as rainbows are concerned. There's like a straggler Plecos male rainbow who's in here. The main fish that's in here, you can see this big guy right here. I'm going to zoom in on him a little bit. Is the Glossolepis wanamensis, or the Emerald Rainbow, or the Lake Wanam Rainbow. Just kind of following this guy around. This is a big male. This is my biggest male. He's absolutely stunning. There's a little guy right there flaring his fins up. But they get these long, beautiful fins, beautiful green color. And then the females, you can see kind of right here, I'm going to track her a little bit, are this kind of silvery green color, which I actually think is really pretty. They keep some color, a lot shorter fins, but are a good-looking fish. The other thing in here that is primary, other than a couple random fish, there's a random turquoise rainbow right here. There's some females from the Millennium Red Rainbow. I lost my male I'm not sure what he did. I think he hit himself on the heater or something. He had a really gnarly wound. I tried to heal him from it. Couldn't recover. But let me come this way. This guy hates being on camera, but I'm going to try and get him. There's a female right up front, but I need to zoom in some. Hiding all the way in back here. See if I can get him to come up some. There we go. That is an Atinjo Boesemani from Rosario Lacorte's strain. So, Rosario Lacorte, kind of a legend of our hobby. Much older gentleman. Really hard to get him to do any speaks or anything, but there's the female again. But, like, he's really known for his tetras, but he's also done lines of rainbows. And this just happens to be his line of Atinjos, which you see beautiful orange and back. And this is later in the day, so he's not showing his best color. And then that nice blue up front. Just a really pretty fish. He's in here. They'll probably get bred at some point. The Wanamensis are a little more important. And then, of course, there's a few SAEs for cleaning. But that's it. The tank is really simple. There's not a lot of fish in here. It's kind of purposely just a big open playground so that these guys can get good swim space and stuff like that. Let's talk plants. So you're going to notice this left-hand side of the tank, there's this big field of crypts. We're going to zoom in on them. This is a Cryptnurii Pahang mutated. And I have these in two different tanks, but the bulk of them are here. You can see this nice big fields kind of surrounding some of the Pleco caves. Then as we come to the middle, we can see that big Madagascar lace. You guys have been watching for a while. You'll know that this thing has been... it loves to get huge and then wither away, and get huge and wither away. And part of that is because this plant, without CO2, does that really regularly. But this one will get upwards of 4 foot at its current root ball size. Like, you can see the root ball here. It is massive, and it goes all the way to the bottom of the tank, which is another, like, 3.5 inches deep, if Cycles would get out of the way. It's like, good old Cycles. But, I mean, this thing's massive. And it's in the middle. You can see tons of little baby leaves on it, a couple bigger ones. It'll grow big again, and then they'll wither away. It just does that all the time. You can see I've got the slate Pleco caves, one sponge filter, which we're about to pass in just a sec here. I'm going to zoom out just a touch. And then we have 3 swords. So right here in the middle, that is a marble queen sword that's regrowing. My Plecos have torn them apart, and there was kind of a minor nitrogen deficiency. Combo 2 things. And then these 2, it's actually 3. My big one in the back is kind of split into 2. So you got a little Amazon sword, and the 2 bigger ones in back. You can actually see on the left, the more like spoon-shaped leaves, the broader ones, that is a completely different sword that split off of the sword. Or that's to the right, I'm sorry. So split off the sword to the left. But just a big, huge adult sword. I love sword plants in general, but it requires very certain tanks. And because this thing doesn't have CO2, it doesn't grow too crazy. But the cories that are in this tank love hiding in there. So, speaking of, can we find some cories? There's not many. Like, there's a Duplicarius who's actually out. One sec. Let me see if I can... They seem to know when the camera's on them and run. There he is. I'm pretty sure it's a boy, because he's a lot smaller. That's a Duplicarius cory. I've gotten a lot of, like, random cories at auctions that were one-ofs. Like, there's a concolor cory in here, so those are the ones that have that kind of gunmetal gray with orangish fins. I prefer calling them con color, just because it sounds cooler to me, which I took years of Spanish way back when I was in high school. So that's just with color, right? Nothing special. And then there's like a couple salt and pepper cories. There's nothing really too crazy. I think there's 5 cories in here total. It's like 3 salt and peppers. There's one bronze cory in here too. And then the 1 Duplicarius and the 1 concolor. But that's it. The tank is really, really simple. So let's talk the last plant that's in here, which will require us to zoom out a little bit more and kind of come upward into the light. I keep this plant. This is one of my favorite beginner plants, growing floating. And this is a broadleaf version of water sprite. So sometimes it looks like water wisteria because it gets so much surface. It stays over the top, so it has a kind of half-immersed, half-submerged growth. But this is just a really cool plant. I got it from a member of my club, and I've really loved it ever since. It grows so well floating that I just keep it floating. Occasionally, I've sold it off, and there's been rainbow eggs in some, and people are like, I've got random rainbow babies. What are they? And it's like, I don't know. It depends. Probably this one, which is the Wanamensis, because they're the ones that I see spawn the most in this tank. However, since it's a community... I don't keep eggs from these because until I can make sure they're 100% one species of fish, I'm not going to risk hybrids. It's just not worth the time. So, we'll zoom back out. Let's talk a little bit about equipment on this tank, and then we will be done. Oh, I guess I am zoomed out. Sorry. So you can see I've got 2 heaters in this tank. That's just, I'd rather have 2 slightly smaller heaters to maintain temperature, one about 3 degrees lower than the other as kind of a backup so it's not doing all the work. And then you can also see 2 Tidal 110s that are filtering this. For a long time I tried a canister, I've had a old Arena filter on this, I had an Aqua Clear in the back instead of the second Tidal. I really like the Tidals on this particular tank because of how close it is to the wall and the amount of flow it gives for the rainbows. I just can't go wrong with the Tidals. I just think they're really good for this particular tank. I think there are other tanks that I have where I think the Aqua Clear is just better because I want slightly lower flow rate, but still really good filtration. So that kind of wider blade, better. I've talked about this in a review video. We'll put that in a card up in the corner. You can check that out. But that's it. This is my community rainbow tank, my second one. I love rainbow fish. You guys know that. So let's jump back to my face and we'll talk just a little bit more about why this tank is special to me, and then we'll be done. Well, there you go, guys. There's a look in my 90-gallon rainbow community, plus a few Plecos and cycles. As you guys can tell, it's super simple. Most of my setups really are. Aside from some of the biggest tanks, I tend to prefer very simple means of planting and just kind of letting nature do its thing. I don't like going hyper crazy or these really in-depth aquascapes. Eventually we'll do one like that, but most of my tanks are very simple because I just like... I'm a simple guy. I like really simple things for the most part. Like, I am that person who who doesn't like dip his french fries in sauce, for example, or I'd never put sauce on a steak, or any kind of like crazy compound butters. It's just salt, pepper, perfect. I'm just a simple person, and it's not, it's one of those things where you just like, once you find that simple thing to take pleasure in, it makes it a lot easier on a lot of stuff. So, let's talk about why this tank, to me, is special. One, it's one of the few places where I use a lot of sword plants. Although my Plecos have torn them apart, we're feeding them more zucchini now, so it's a little less common, but I don't use a lot of swords. I'll have like a sword in a couple of tanks, but not 3. And these were much bigger than they are now. You can go back and look, and those Amazon swords were huge. And then there's the big Madagascar lace and 1 species of crypt. And that's like it, other than the floating plants that I use here, that broadleaf water spray. But part of it is because I like having lots of swim room for the rainbows that are in here, because the Wanamensis are just so pretty that I don't want to lose them in the plants. I hope that makes sense. Like, let me talk about why they're so cool. So, the Glossolepis Wanamensis, they come from Lake Wanam. And Lake Wanam, years ago, had a bunch of food fish tilapia introduced into it, because the natives didn't really have any good food sources there, and it was very easy to get tilapia. Tilapia can take such a wide range of conditions, and they're a super easy food source. Well, the tilapia also can be very predatory, and they absolutely decimated the rainbow fish population in that lake. When Heiko Blaher and some others went to collect them in, I think it was, it's either 2005 or 2008, I think it was 2008 if I remember correctly, they barely got 80 pairs out of the lake so that they could take them and breed them elsewhere to try and get the population back up. The population was so low, and you're talking rainbow fish. Rainbow fish in the wild, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them, especially in a lake. You look at some of like the Lake Ayumaru or Lake Aitinjo, some of the other places where like the Boesemani are, and there are tens of thousands of fish in these big, massive, kind of shoaled schools, and it's incredible. But here we are struggling to get 80 pairs out a little over a decade ago. That's pretty scary stuff when it comes to a fish species that is as beautiful as that fish.
Now, needless to say, they actually thrive pretty well in the home hobbyist tanks. You can find emerald rainbows pretty much anywhere, but the good lines, the ones that haven't kind of been muddled, they're getting harder and harder to find. And luckily, I've got one of the best you can get, so from my perspective, I'm very, very fortunate. And yeah, I know, I need to breed them. I know. My work schedule is hell, and I need to breed a lot of fish. But these are definitely high on my list because I have this eventual goal with these guys. And maybe one day, I'll tell you the story of what my dream tank is. And yeah, it involves them. So, I really hope you guys have enjoyed this look in this tank. I'd love to know down in the comments, like, what's your favorite part? Is it the plants? Is it because it's so simple? Is it a specific fish? Is it a specific plant? Maybe it's cycles. My mostly blind goldfish. Maybe it's one of the Plecos. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. I love seeing what you guys love the most about the tanks. It's really interesting to see your perspective about the things I keep. The usual YouTube stuff, right? If you did enjoy this, please think of giving a little like. If you didn't like this tank, you're tired of seeing all these rainbow fish, where are those dang guppies? Hit the thumbs down button twice just to let me know. For those of you who might be new, this may be your first video watching, you were like, I finally get to see emerald rainbows. I've been looking for these forever. I have a whole lot more stuff. I do a tank of the week every Wednesday, and then I do another video every Saturday, which ranges from, tips and tricks, product reviews, tours, interviews, all sorts of stuff. Last week I did this phenomenal tour of a 600-gallon reef tank that is being put together with my friend Darren of Rogue Aquariums. I really hope you guys check that out. As somebody who doesn't do salt, but every time I look at salt, I have to tell myself, okay, I hope it's not too pretty because I don't want to be tempted to make my own. I just really hope you guys enjoy it. Darren is a friend that I've met in the last couple of years. He's a super nice guy. Really knows a lot, and he's come from freshwater initially and learned the hard way. So I kind of really appreciate stories like that because it's much like me, where it's like you kind of just dove in, did your research, and learned the hard way, as opposed to, having a mentor right beside you the entire time, but more doing your own research. That's part of why I spread my own knowledge, is just because I've done enough mistakes. I want you guys not to repeat them. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome. Checking the audio level. Years ago. Oh, you guys are back. Well then, I'll kill this take.